Hello there YouTube, this is the Rogue Gen Player coming at you with a Genex deck profile. This is an updated version of the list, post-ban list. It's not really changed all that much, but the theory in which the deck has changed and some of the combos that the deck will incorporate will have changed. I will be releasing a combo tutorial listing its primary combo along with other things that you guys can do if you choose to play a deck like this. So the way this deck works is you're using effectively the Link monster to basically put tons of monsters on board with one card. And depending on how you open up, you can influence the combo line based upon that. So I'm just going to get into the deck list for right now, and I'll kind of explain things as we go on. But comment, rate, subscribe, and stay tuned because there will be a combo tutorial video regarding this in probably coming up next or in the near future. I haven't figured out when that's going to be released yet. So let's get right into it. So to start off, for preface, I am going to start with the primary monster because the rest of the deck kind of just doesn't make any sense unless you know exactly what this card does, and that is Repair Genex Controller. So it's a Link one that requires a level 4 lower Genex monster. The main thing about it is that when it's Link summoned, you can add a Genex monster from your graveyard to your hand. But it has an additional effect. Okay, once per chain. Okay, when a Genex monster is added to your hand, doesn't matter where or from where, you can immediately normal summon a Genex monster. It does Xeno lock you into just synchros. Okay. And you have to use Genex tuners as the tuner monster. So keep that in mind. So pretty much you summon this, you go into your plays, and you make a bunch of synchros. Depending on how you build the deck and kind of how the theory is, it pretty much says this card is die or bust. So that's the explanation for that. So let's start with the main deck monsters. So I'm going to start with what's known as the normal summon Stratos cards before I move on to any of the other stuff, because they basically get searched off of these. So the first things first is Genex Power Planner. This is probably the most common used one that you may be familiar with because it did get splashed into other decks, especially early on for old Genex builds because it was just really good with Ultimate Offering and things like that. So when this card is normal summon, you can add a level 3 effect Genex monster from your deck to your hand. So this basically gets you into a number of monsters. It actually has 3 targets in the deck. It actually has the most targets compared to the other ones who primarily either have 1 or 2. So that's the main one. It's also the only one of its group that isn't an Genex monster, so keep that in mind. So we then play 3 copies of Genex Magma. It does exactly the same thing, except it adds a level 2 Genex monster from your deck to your hand. Keep that in mind. It's also a fire monster that's also pyro if you choose to play bonfires, if you have them. I know it's at 2 now, but just, keep that in mind. We're then playing 2 copies of Genex Crusher, which on summon searches a level 4 Genex monster. And that means it's also, it's got the fewest targets, technically. And then we're playing 2 copies of Genex Turbo. It's probably the only one I would possibly play 3 of. It searches the main searcher inadvertently, which is searching a level 1 Genex monster from your deck to your hand. So it's actually kind of versatile because there are a lot more level 1s than people think. So, and then the last quote-unquote search card is the 1 copy of Genex Undyne, and that's because Power Planner can search it, which means you can dump a water monster to get a Genex controller. So it forms. So these 4 cards form what's effectively a generous resource loop. Okay, so as long as you have the repaired Genex on board, you have the ability to basically go in this order. Now, as you go through this order, there are other targets that you can get off of it. So, For the Undyne, we have the one controller. You're gonna actually use it as part of the combo. You're actually going into a number of cards throughout the combo. One of them, which is DeLorean, and this is the main tuner you're gonna use to make it. So for the primary level 3 monster that Power Planner searches besides Magma is the 3 copies of Genex Ally Birdman. So Genex Ally Birdman allows you to bounce a monster back to the hand to special summon it. If it's a wind monster, it gains 500. But the main thing is that you can bounce Genex monsters back to your hand and re-trigger the Link monster. So which is pretty cool. It does banish itself when it leaves the field when you use that effect, but it is a level 3 tuner, so keep that in mind. And then for Crusher can also search Undyne, or Genex Undyne specifically. You can send this with the original Undyne as the cost to search the controller. It has 2 effects. When in a graveyard, when you have a Genex synchro on board, you can add 2 Genex monsters, including this one. So it has to be one of the 2 targets. Add them to your hand. It does macro you for the rest of the turn, and then once per turn, you can banish a Genex monster from your graveyard. This card's attribute changes, but if you banish a tuner, you get to make this card a tuner. So this kind of gets you, extra resources, because oddly enough, this card is not a once per turn. So if you have 2 copies in the graveyard, you can add basically 3 monsters off of it, or 4 cards back, which is pretty cool because you're going to actually dump one and then you're going to summon the other one later, depending on how you build the combo. And then for kind of like utility cards, we're playing 2 copies of our Genex Overseer, the 1 copy of Turing, and the 1 copy of Genex Recycled. Overseer is pretty much a level 2 tuner that on normal or special, you can summon a level 3 or lower Genex monster from hand. So it allows you to get some dead ones out in the event that you kind of just don't have much else to summon, while getting you more monsters. It does bait out things, so keep that in mind. Turing, it's just one of those, you can quick sync on your opponent if you choose to. And then Recycled's a level 1 tuner, which is actually pretty important for certain synchros. So, for the extra deck, or for the kind of like the non-engine stuff, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 copies of Nibiru. You pretty much have to play this because you have to stop your opponent from playing. And then we're playing 2 copies of Drone Lockbird. This card doesn't really, it is counterintuitive, but we are playing Cross-Out Designator, so this kind of helps a little bit. Not to mention, it kind of just stuns decks after you've gone off. We're playing 2 copies of Sarvis. So the reason why we're playing this is to completely protect Repair Genex Controller. If you do not, I repeat, do not have access to the controller, the deck completely dies. You will auto lose every single time. So this is important to have this available at all times. For the spell cards, so the first things first is 3 copies of Small World. So you could play this or Bonfires. The reason why, excluding the fact that I don't own Bonfires right now, Small World has a little bit more utility because rather than just searching one monster, it can search anything in the deck, which is actually pretty important because the deck is a 1-card combo, which means any other card in the deck or any other monster in the deck can become any monster, because you're going to Small World, and because of the varying types, attributes, attack, defense, and all that, you have lots of access to things. So this gives you a lot of extra things. Yes, it is just as easily stopped, and it actually costs more if it's negated, but the fact that it gives you more pieces, more access to things. Also, because if you add a Genex monster off of it, you do get to search. So, and then for the spell stuff, 3 costs of Designator, a Called by the Grave, and a triple Tactics talent. The main thing is punishing your opponent from stopping you. So that's the main reason behind that. And then the only trap we play is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, because it is a good generic hand trap that you should play in every deck. You could play other things if you'd like, if you have it. There's lots of options. It just depends on how you play the deck. So, that being said, let's go back to the extra deck, which is we play the 2 controllers. That will never change. You can't play 1 because if it gets negated, and you can't play 3 because it's too bricky. Now, This is going to be from low level to high level, but the importance of every card will be explained as I go through it. So the first things first is Herald of the Arclight. This is one of the end of combo cards you make. You pretty much go into 3 disruptions, depending on how you build the combo, how you build your board, and this is one of the cards you do it. So it's an Omni Negate that gives you access to things. And then Mary Melpheus. This is actually a pivot card. So what this card does is on synchro summon, it allows you to target a monster on the field and bounce it back to your hand. If you bounce a Genex, guess what? Repair Genex controller triggers. This is kind of in one of those cases where you open up a very specific type of hand and you just don't know what to do with it. Also, we are playing other things that kind of just help. So, and not to mention that it is a level 4 that says bounce a monster. So you can bounce your opponent's cards if you really wanted to. So it is another like disruption if you really want to. For the only level 5 is Teach You Hyper Librarian. I'm still kind of working how to really build combos around this card. A lot of the combos that revolve summoning this during the combo are 2-3 card combos, and the ones that are 1 card are so introverted that they're just not even worth going into. So, but the ability to draw multiple cards, you draw like 2 or 3 cards in most of them. And then the main card that you're trying to get to at the very start of your combo is DeLorean. This is the card that basically all the combos start with. They basically summon a bunch of monsters, go into DeLorean, bounce them all back, and resummon them off of the Repair Genex controller because you're continuously searching. So this is kind of one of those cards that you pretty much have to get to, otherwise the deck kind of just crumbles. We play 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon because it's another card that says special on monsters, so you can kind of unbrick your hand if you draw into weird stuff. It keeps the combo going because you can summon tuners off of it. Cyframe Lord Omega, there's a combo that allows you to cycle through this twice. Dragite, because you're playing water monsters, so you can summon this and you have another negate or disruption on board. Excel Stardust, you're playing level 2 tuners, so you're going to play it. The 1 Trishula, some combos go into this, and you're going to rip a card out, and then you're going to immediately go into one of the level 10s of the deck. Crocosaur, same thing with Hyper Librarian, it just draws you more cards. Chenying, Dispatter, and the 1 copy of Arms of Genex return 0. This is basically the main win card. So the main goal is to summon this with a Dragite and a Herald of the Arclight. These are the 3 cards that you're trying to end on every single one of these combos in regards to it. So keep that in mind. So, and the thing is that there are some cards that are flex point. I mean, if we get some like really good main deck Genex monsters or ones that make the synchros a little better, then yes, I would consider playing more. But it's kind of like fine-tuned to what you really want out of it. So, but yeah, that's the deck, guys. It hasn't really changed much. I don't think it really changed at all, except for the mindset of the deck, which there will be a combo tutorial listing the primary combo of the deck that kind of all the other combos are based upon, because they're going into a focal point, which I explained was DeLorean. Everything else kind of just is dependent on the rest of your hand. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.